Welcome. This is ZulloScope. I'm going to be again on here testing the system out again this evening. A new process I'm going to try out. I'm going to start this a few minutes beforehand, let people join. Hello everyone. This is a new process. I'm going to let people join about 5 minutes beforehand till 10 o'clock. So as we wait here, I'll just have this up until then. Let's go over some things. Welcome again. You view this in your Twitter timeline. In my Twitter timeline, it's there live. At the same time, you can go into Periscope to ask questions, and from there, I like a lot of questions, so you have to download Periscope for that, but you can also view it in Twitter. Last night doing this was really fun. It was exciting. I enjoyed answering questions. Thank you to the gentleman that was doing that. It provided a good conversation. I have one rule during this. I like the only thing I stop for is those questions. This is about you just as much as it is about what we're talking about tonight. I'm going to be talking about Obamacare. I'm just going to let everybody come in for a few minutes before we start at 10. So this is up for a couple of minutes. Again, welcome to reviewers. You can just fast forward from the beginning, 5 minutes to 10 o'clock. And we'll start from there. I'm gonna be trying to talk about repeal it. I appreciate everyone has their own sentiments about Obamacare, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about what repealing it would mean, how it would affect the system as it is, or what other options there are. And how we came to this. So welcome, folks. I'm just starting this a little early. I told everyone it would be 10 o'clock, so just letting people come in. And just a little introduction here beforehand. Also what we're going to be doing during this is I'm going to be doing some giveaways where I'm going to be giving away a copy of my book. All you got to do is tweet a little message that I'm going to be putting up on the screen. And then when you tweet that, someone will be selected from that tweet to win a free copy of the book. So we're going to be trying that during this as well. So we've got about 3 minutes till we start here, and I'd like, this is just letting it sit here for a moment. Welcome. Did last night. This is a new process for me, so bear with me. Please forgive me if anything seems out of the ordinary to the Periscopers or any reason you're not interested. I'm open to feedback at the same time. Again, I'm going to be repeating the same thing here for a few minutes until as soon as the screen turns around and you see me, we'll begin to reviewers at the same time, about 5 minutes in. So welcome. Again, I have one rule. I only stop for questions. That's what I'd like to answer a lot of. So I've already had one comment of repeal it, so we're going to talk about that at the same time. So welcome again. Thank you for joining me. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time. Politics is fascinating to me. I enjoy talking about it. So we're going to try this out. It was suggested to me. And we're going to see how this goes. I know I told everyone 10 o'clock, so we've got a couple minutes here. I see 10 people on. That's very neat, very fascinating. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's like I can have a conversation about politics with all of you at the same time. I hope you comment. I hope you ask a lot of questions. Just a few more minutes here, and then we'll get started. It's going to be called ZulloScope. I'm going to be doing weekly rundowns, and then I'm thinking about doing just like this, hot button topics, then speaking about them and taking questions for it. I'm adding an element in. This is going to be a little more structured than last night, so if you viewed it. If you haven't already, it is a review is in my Twitter timeline, so you can see it there. That's how you can view this without Periscope. You can also be on Periscope to ask questions and give me little likes, as they call it. Although, with politics, I find it to be very, engaging. So I'm not too concerned about the likes, although I do appreciate them at the same time. Welcome, everyone. This is ZulloScope. I'm going to try this out. Just 1 more minute here till we get started. Again, tweet this message for a chance to win a free copy of my book. I'll be showing this throughout. And then we are about to get started. Thank you for joining me. This is ZulloScope. Tonight we're going to talk about Obamacare a little bit. Hopefully I get a lot of questions and comments, and we'll see how this goes. Thank you again for joining. I appreciate your time. Politics is very fun and fascinating to me. So we're about 1 minute, all right, and we shall begin. Hey, good evening. So glasses again, stick to the brand, as I say. And tonight I want to talk about Obamacare. I've been tweeting about it a bit today. We've had a lot of recent news about things going on. And this is a very important issue in our country, in our history here. How do we provide health care to everyone that needs it, and at the same time pays a reasonable rate to how much they make? There's awfully different forms of healthcare systems around the world. We have single-payer healthcare systems, which is also universal healthcare systems. We have a public option system. There are several options we have here now. What we're having with Obamacare is we're having a system falling under its own weight. Healthcare is everyone provides at the same time that they're paying into a system. So when you are sick, you do have care, and you can't possibly afford all of that care at the same time without everyone on the aggregate pitching in. So in the essence, insurance in and of itself is a group theory system. So what we're having here with Obamacare is we explored a mandate-style system with our healthcare, where everyone had to buy insurance, where we provided Obamacare isn't insurance itself. It is a system of laws designed to provide mandates. Everyone purchases it. Requires coverage from certain standards of care. It requires a pre-existing condition coverage, life caps on limits, and there's a variety of things that Obamacare does. It is not insurance itself. So we went down the road of mandating healthcare with a system where you have to buy insurance. Now, what we did at the same time is we brought in all the insurance companies into marketplaces to compete with each other, the roots of what capitalism is, so that drives costs down at the same time as allowing everyone to purchase insurance. It brings in a higher demand. It allows it created job growth. Okay, so then the first problem with Obamacare is that you had GOP obstruction in states where the Supreme Court ruled that the states could not accept Medicaid expansion in the states. Now, what this did is this put undue pressure still, which is a problem we had pre-Obamacare, of hospitals absorbing uninsured debt, where people used the hospital as a doctor's office. When they got sick, they went there. This is an absorbent cost on a hospital. So what they did was provide insurance, which group negotiated rates, everyone pays into the system. The hospital gets paid. The insurance company doesn't have to pay as much out in risk scenario. So we had a situation there where in these obstructed states that this continued to go on, and this continued to drag into costs into insurance. Now, our insurance marketplace is a for-profit system. Being a for-profit system, these CEOs are looking at their bottom line, and they're looking at stock growth, and they're saying overall, how do we make more money? If we're not making more money, what do we have to do here? So as these insurance companies in those states started to lose money, they increased premiums, and we, the consumer, instead of their bottom lines, their tens of billions of profits, absorbed that cost. So as consumers, we did that. First, that was the first problem with GOP obstruction. Then we had bacterial drug companies, and they started to realize that since there were these minimum standards of care, of coverage that Obamacare made, that they could charge what they wanted, and they had very little fight with it. We don't have other than Elizabeth Warren, we don't have a strong consumer protection thing, so they weren't going to fight. You had things like that 5,000% price increase. How do you see something like that going on without a huge notice or something from there? So from what happens when you have these price increases in prescription and bacterial drugs, that's again passed on the consumer, because the insurance companies have to pay a portion of that when you do get that drug. So because of that, they got those costs and passed those down onto us. So that's why we're seeing premiums increase. So, but twofold, we have those two problems, which is dragging down Obamacare. Now, there's been even with Obamacare's faults, there have been a great many goods. We're talking pre-existing conditions. This is a huge thing today. We're talking consumer demand in the healthcare industry, which created job growth, especially when you look at the labor statistics reports. There's healthcare industry hiring because there's 20 million people that are now covered that they weren't. And you're talking about EHR, you're talking about record keeping, you're talking about assistant staff, you're talking about hiring. It translates marketplace, the schools. So anyone who says that this didn't create jobs isn't looking at the facts to the matter. So overall, you see these benefits to Obamacare. And now we have to make some choices where we go down this road next. We have, I think the solution to this problem is that we created this mandate system, which was really thought up by a Republican think tank, the Heritage Foundation, where they were trying to create an alternative politically to Hillary Care at the time. So it was a mandate-style system where it was personal responsibility. It was up to you. You had to own insurance, and that played into the Republican narrative at the time. So they brought that on. They got a Republican governor in a Democratic state, so they got a little testing going on in Massachusetts. They saw the system. It actually kind of worked. It was fascinating that when everyone buys insurance, it operates the same as if you were a single-payer system or a public option system, especially with some additional effective cost scenarios where the insurance companies are trying to create that better bottom line to Wall Street, although there's not enough oversight or regulation to prevent them from gouging the system, as we've seen. But again, this was thought up by a Republican think tank. So overall, now we have some choices where we head with this. It's already an option. I put out a poll on my Twitter today, if you took a look, and it basically said where I think the 4 areas we could go are. I mean, we have a situation where we can leave it alone, which is, I don't think it's a choice right now. I think in the obstructed states where we haven't expanded Medicaid, these states, they're buckling under costs, and we're all paying a higher premium and to that, and Aetna, like example, Aetna's pulling out. They're having fights with the Department of Justice over merger because they want to have more control over the entire system of here. You only have so many insurers in these marketplaces to begin with, and so the more that they can gobble up, the more control that they have. And when the more control you have, that's why you have antitrust laws to try to break up this control, to increase that competition and efficiency. So you have leave it alone, then you have a single payer system, which usually is everyone pays a little bit on their taxes, and then the government pays the insurance bill. Everybody has insurance, and it all operates in the same fashion. You have quasi forms of that single payer, but that's the real meats and bones of it. There's a public option system where the government provides an insurance plan like a private insurance company would, and with that they allow you to purchase into that plan, and that plan is enrolled in the exchanges, and thus it forces these other insurance companies to, one, be competitive with that marketplace, two, offer consumers an option that's not going to be so profit driven in nature. So we'll look at that and we'll say, oh, okay, that's a better cost scenario just in case, and it'll make these insurance companies really be competitive. They'll have to enter in the exchanges with competitive rates to the demographic groups that they're into, and then we'll really feel that savings at the same time. So, and then there's repeal it. I just don't think repeal it is a fantastic idea, because the only thing I heard about the Republican side of fixing healthcare in general, from what I've seen, was tort reform, which is medical malpractice. I mean, I do not see a lot of doctors overwhelmed with medical lawsuits. I mean, I think Ben Carson was avoiding so many. I mean, how many was he under? I mean, it's just based... medical malpractice is a state-by-state issue, so you're looking at tort reform in a way that just doesn't apply on the aggregate that they like to sell it to you. So repealing it just does nothing. You need a plan, and the only other plan that the Republican side has been this mandate system, which is what we're under. So we either have to improve it, but I like to say, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, so it's a little dirty. We've got some problems. Premiums are increasing. We have insurance companies dropping out of the exchanges. So we have to either make some choices here. So I'd love some questions. I think that's the entire Obamacare situation rundown right now. I don't think there's much that I missed. If anybody does have something that I missed, I'd love some feedback to that. I'm calling this like a hot issue of broadcast. So I'm on at 10. I'm a hot issue talking about it. Maybe this is through the week thing. So anybody have any questions, bring them up. You have to log into Periscope for questions. I do see everyone viewing there, the numbers at the bottom right. I appreciate you. Once this is over, I will repost this so you can review it from the beginning in case you missed it. We're talking about Obamacare. We went from the beginning. I think I've covered it in the ways that I like. I think I put out some tweets today. We can go over some tweets in a little bit. If anybody has any questions, I'll let them log into the Periscope to ask. Again, Periscope is a very on-demand thing. It says 10 o'clock it starts. What kind of leak do you think is coming out in October? All right, so again, I stopped for questions. This is how I work. I think the leak is going to be related to donors. That's what they're focused on here is, how can we tie a donor to a favor in the quasi-Clinton Foundation relationship, which is a weird tie they're making because Clinton Foundation is a non-profit charity, A-rated, and because of this overall, it's strange that you think that every ex-president has formed these foundations. You have every foreign country making donations to this where the money goes to AIDS research, for example. And so this is a decent foundation, and so they're just trying to make this quasi-tie to this populist purview right now that money is corrupting politics, which it is, as I've stated a lot, and I've looked throughout. Thank you, and I've looked and talked about. So, overall, I think that we've got to make some choices. This is a time that we've got to, as a nation, look to the future. We've got to, Obamacare is seriously important. Legislation here is extremely important. These little scandals that are coming out, I'm telling you, every politician has meetings with donors. That's how this is done with them. You give that amount of, until you fully eliminate money from the political process where it's all about legislation, you're going to have this. So I don't think there's anything like Hillary Clinton killed someone, like some conspiracy things or people you see on Twitter is going to come out in a WikiLeaks and drown the whole campaign in sorrow. No, nothing like that. I don't think there is. It's going to be donors. Who donated? What did that donator do? I mean, you can look at every donator and the atrocities that are committed across, every country out there. That's why America is the greatest country in the world, is because we're a country built on due process and law. We don't have, when you challenge something, it's law. That's why this crazy rhetoric is really upsetting me in the way that we're pushing people to fear and anger. So I see people leaving, I see people coming, so I hope I'm not getting off topic on Obamacare, which I did cover on a review, which I will post and retweet, which you can be getting. And as I said, there's a little message here I'm going to show sometimes throughout this. Post this, and then you get a free chance to win a copy of my book. Everybody who posts it is the only ones answered. So this is about Obamacare that we talked about tonight. 20+ million covered. Yes, it did. There's an interesting graph that you can also look at on Twitter where I show you healthcare spending on the aggregate, not on the personal side, which I talked about. On the aggregate, overall, we've loaded. I used to like to see you without your glasses. I'm keeping to the brand. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not personally liking the glasses too much with this. I have some notes that I did put down. It's difficult to read. But I am going to keep with the brand as much as I can for a little bit. I'm sorry you don't like the glasses. I will try it out, and I'll see. If I get more comments about that, I'll consider making a change. I just have they're brown eyes under there. They're nothing crazy, I promise. So any questions? I was going until I did get that question about the scandals. I was going to go to the Twitter feed and go through some Obamacare tweets that I put out today. Again, if you're just joining or just coming on, you can watch this as a review, as I will repost. We talked about Obamacare. We went into a couple of questions about a leak, anything leak coming out. I will take any more questions. Again, one rule during this Periscope, I stop for questions. Yes, I do. I love questions. Anything political related, I think, the more answers we can give, the more interest we all have. That's what we all have, is questions about politics. So let's go to this tweet. Ignorance towards Obamacare is astounding. Healthcare so pricey. Improve, not repeal. I posted this because the healthcare so pricey. It started trending after I was posting about Obamacare, because I decided to do this hot, we'll call this a hot topic ZulloScope right now. Follow me at ZulloScope, by the way. Buy my book if you haven't, please. It's a quick read. I think you'll learn something. It's very general. It doesn't get too in depth. All right, so in this tweet, I said, ignorance towards the Affordable Care Act is astounding. Because of ACA regulations, insurance companies can't deny or drop your insurance. That is fantastic. You get cancer and you have insurance, they drop you because they know that you're going to cost them more money. And Hillary's bill. Okay, so first, what was Trump doing before he came into the political spectrum? He was a TV host for a TV show where he stoked inflammatory fears in speech. So he came from a celebrity background. being in a celebrity background, media aspires to these celebrities that know how to get a crowd going, that know how to get excitement going. So that played into Trump's persona, and his persona then it moved on to then these rallies, and the more inflammatory speech, the more they covered this, the more media just covers that for ratings. We're in a ratings-based system media environment. Each network appeals to a different demographic, so because of that, they're all looking to cover the inflammatory speech. And with that comes ratings, dollars, advertisers there. So Clinton's just not getting it, and he would be on Howard Stern, very liberal. Well, let's remember Trump before he got into the political. He played both sides. He called. He wasn't a true Republican. He wasn't a true Democrat. He was a political influence guy. He was a plutocrat. He was on the side of it, trying to influence a political process through financial donations to the tie that he has in the system. So because of that, he was both sides. He saw an opening that the easiest way to get into politics was this birder thing. He loved running on that, even though there's no foundation in fact. So he got a following there that doesn't leave him. There's no one else calling out for these things. He's a celebrity. They feel entrenched in that, so they did move there. So, he's getting all of this ratings and stuff because that's how media works. Now, if you notice, since the primary season, we have seen a different media coverage. They have to cover the back and forth between Trump and between Hillary a little more. So you do see her, like, you wouldn't have usually heard her speech the other day that she was giving there. She was really attacking this all right. But because we're in this environment where it is back and forth more, you did see that a little more. So I think that the coverage is not as good. And Trump has noticed that. That's why he's switched up to this, it's rigged, the corrupt media, is because he's not getting the coverage that he used to, and he's complaining about it, and that's a smart process for a man that has that many followers, that uses that as a communication tool, has really established that. He's a businessman, he understands that inflammatory speech sells, fear sells, and it's easy to sell them, and it's easy to be a savior after that. If you can scare someone, you can also lead them to redemption. So, it's really a take there that he's gone through. So that's answering those questions, I hope, in a sufficient thing. So again, if you're just joining me, coming in and out, we've talked about Obamacare. We've taken a couple questions. I have put out, I'm doing a giveaway during the broadcast where I go. Absolutely. Voter turnout, social media, technology has really fueled a lot of voter turnout, thankfully. I think it's really gotten everybody, it's time to vote on voting day, especially with social media, and everybody's tied to social media day. So I think voter turnout is no longer, is it going to be high or is it going to be low? I think it's going to be a real demographic appeal, and people are going to vote, but are you going to campaign beforehand? Are you going to argue the issues? Are you going to be on Twitter? Are you going to be talking on social media? Are you going to be retweeting? Are you going to be replying? Are you going to be donating? I think that's really more of the turnout that really we have to now concern ourselves with. Voter turnout is an apathetic thing because politics is just not interesting, and it's an ugly business. It's difficult. It's not easy to talk about ways. I think we all want the same things. We just have different ways to get there. So, it's not many people want to pay attention to these things. That's why they say don't talk about religion or politics at the dinner table. But you got to talk about it sometime, and that's what I'm doing now. So I'm going to talk about some politics. Let's talk some politics. I love the questions. Thank you. I appreciate it. So let's any more questions? So yes, high voter turnout. I do think we're going to see high vote turnout on both sides. I definitely do. I think Bernie people are going to want to vote. Absolutely, it might not be. They're going to vote for Hillary. It might not be they're going to be so happy about it. But I think Jill Stein is not Bernie Sanders. She does not have any platform, any history. Like Bernie was established. He was fought for this stuff his entire life. He's a good politician. Bernie, had some good ideas for this country, some things to move us forward. Jill, she's working on the inflammatory speech of the left as much as she can in the green scenario, which is, every vote goes green, every vote that doesn't go blue, and that's every vote that's helping Trump one up the no Democratic vote there. So yes, I do see a voter turnout. Bernie people will vote. Hillary people are going to vote. the independents are going to vote. Social media is going to move them out. The right's got their inflammatory speech. Moderate Republicans, especially the Never Trump people, they're going to vote. I think you're going to see overwhelming numbers. We're talking percentage points, but that's overwhelming numbers. You move the gap 4, 5, 7, 8 percentage points in the Republican voting Democratic column. You're really talking a whole lot of people. So I do see a lot of crossover voting from the Republican and Democratic platform. I do think the debates are going to be very interesting. I think that Hillary is going to. I think what I would recommend is she tries to stick to the facts and stick to that policy as much as possible. People like that more today. With the internet, with the technology, if you care, you can research something out. That's why you have so many people sticking on their views when they're not right, or they're, especially on the right-wing inflammatory speech side. That's why they think they're all right. They read all the corroborating people saying, ah. So that's exactly what goes on that side. So, I think that we're going to have a fun election. The debates are going to be fun, that's the next step. I don't think Trump's going to be able to insult his way out of this one. 2 people on the stage, when you got all these people on the stage, it's easy to insult one, move on to the next, roll over, divert, roll off. You got one person engaged on you on a debate stage. You're in a whole completely different environment. Unless Trump comes in brushed up with some policy where he's learned to talk about it overnight, which is his real problem, he's not going to be able to touch Hillary's policy views on the stage. And unfortunately for Trump's case, she doesn't have any health issues, so she's not going to collapse on the stage. She's not going to forget what she's saying. So we've got a situation where I don't think Hillary loses, thankfully, but this is not just a Hillary thing. Why the Russian thing faded with Trump? All right, the Russian thing faded with Trump because, Russia it's Russia, okay? Trump has added a new narrative to this. He's really talked about Russia differently. You haven't had a political leader really call against NATO and the United States since the Cold War. I mean, I can't even think of one that's been mainstream. We're talking about a presidential candidate. So you got a very touchy topic with Russia. You don't want to push too hard on either side, especially in the media. You don't want to push anyway. You want to report the facts. You want to make sure they're the facts. Especially when you're talking about global politics where everything is inflamed with just the littlest tweet, the littlest one thing wrong said. In terms of, I ask you a further question when you talk to Trump's ties to Russia. Are you talking about Trump's love obsession with Putin per se, where he compliments him so much because that makes Obama appear weak, and because then Obama appeared weak, he appeared better on the campaign? All right, the Manafort ties. All right, in regards to that, there is a tie. He was paid to try to influence policy, but that wasn't when he was with Trump. So I think it subsided because Manafort really fell out of the campaign. He did. Trump saw he was a wart, so he disappeared. So there really wasn't much of a story for so long, and that's how Trump really operates his campaign. If something really if he feels the heat too much and he feels things going too much, he sheds what he's going on, and he runs that solo scenario, so he doesn't have to really answer anybody but himself. And he can say what he wants to, once, at any time, regardless of fact checking here or there, because his media appeal, it's the law of the aggregate. You repeat a lie often, that becomes a truth. It doesn't matter. That's why birds or things are holding. That's why all these little things hold until people educate enough, or people fight enough, or there becomes something that educates people on the aggregate. So that's why I think it faded out of the media, the Russian ties there. I think the biggest thing with Trump and Russia per se is, what ties does Trump have in any business dealings? And I don't think there are many, but I think there could be a few. And then the love obsession, and then pulling out of NATO, which is extremely scary. Russia is still operated by Putin, and he still runs a nationalist nation where he likes to say military strength. That's who we are. That's what we are. He can't be weak on these annexed territories. He can't seem weak with ISIS at all. That's why all of a sudden he's involved here in Syria when he didn't really want to be, but he had to be because he couldn't appear to be weak in the situation, especially with Assad blowing up and all the difficult ties we have in the Middle East. His tax returns may show ties. They may show business dealings. The thing with tax returns is, you shouldn't be allowed to run for public office and not release your tax returns. I'm sorry. There should be no way, seriously, because if you're hiding something, everyone needs to see what you're hiding and why you're hiding it. If you're abusing a tax system, fine. I want to know. let's see. You get people pay these low rates because they are abusing the systems, and we know this. Mitt Romney showed us a little bit that he was abusing the system. It's easy to abuse. It's set up for the rich people to abuse. So until we close those loopholes, they're going to do it. But he's not going to release his tax returns. He knows that the firestorm would be way too strong. People that would provide any amateur, any reporter, the media would be inside out and backwards over these tax returns for years. You're never going to see them ever. You got to know this about the tax returns. When he did release them for a casino state audit, which was important enough to release them, you can't release them for the American public and running for president, but for that you can. Paid $0 in federal income tax. So I would make a wager that he pays less than 10% for certain in his tax returns. I would make a wager that he has a lot of ties to government in his tax returns and a lot of reportings. I guarantee you that he doesn't have a lot of the charitable zero. Yeah, I guarantee he doesn't have a lot of the charitable contributions that he says he does. I guarantee you'd see how bad the Trump Foundation is really. It's a money-making business to Trump. He operates his campaign and the foundation as money-making businesses. He profits off of them. His campaign space is rented out by his campaign rents out the space in his property. And that increased fivefold. And not as rich as he brags. Absolutely, I don't think for certain. Real estate is a very fluctuating marketplace. So a lot of his holdings are in real estate base. A lot are overseas. A lot of So you have a lot of fluctuated assets there. I think Trump's wealth is he could sell properties and have that wealth. I don't think he has a lot of tons of hundreds of millions for certain in liquid cash, I think. But I don't think you're talking where he's with the real upper echelon people, where these people are really, truthfully, filthy rich with hundreds of, just billions in cat. I just don't see him being as mega rich as he claims, or else he would be, if he really wanted it so bad and if this was really such a passionate calling for him, he would have spent that hundreds of millions of dollars winning the election in these ads, because he knows inflammatory speech wins. He's on Twitter and he's lighting up the scenario with just 10 million followers or something. He's just lighting up the media marketplace. So if he really had that kind of money behind him, so he's making money off of this. I think that either one, he knows he's going to lose and he's going to spin this into a media empire of some sort where he's going to fuel the right, or he's going to try to win. So that's what I think is going to, that's his intention there. But back to it being, he's profiting off of this left and right. So again, if you've joined me we started about 9:55. I did about 5 minutes of introductions. In the reviews, just preview ahead until when you start seeing me. Again, this is a hot button issue. I spoke a lot more. This was very fascinating. Thank you for the questions again to the gentleman that was in there. I appreciate it. He was asking questions, and I hope I answered your questions well. Again, one rule, I always stop for questions. You have to log into Periscope to ask questions. You can see this on my feed. You have a lot of people coming in and out. I do appreciate it. Welcome. If you're watching this live and you're just coming in, I talked about Obamacare today. I covered a lot of tweets. And I'm going to do half-hour hot button issues like this. It seems like it to work, get a lot of questions in, any questions you have. We talked about a lot of stuff. Reviews, again, I'm going to repost this so it can be viewed. Thank you to everyone who watched. I appreciate you. I'm going to be doing, again, ZulloScope. I'm going to do week in review, where I'm going to have a structured environment kind of like this. I did this was more structured than the other evening. I'm going to try to cover things more repetitively. I seem to talk about a lot of issues. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your questions, man. Thank you so much to everyone who has asked questions. That's my one rule. I stop for questions. I always talk politics, no matter what you have to say. I will talk about it. No topics off limits. Got about 1 more minute here. Goodbye. Reviews. This will be posted on my Twitter. Appreciate it. I'm going to probably do one of these real soon with another topic. I think these good. Buy my book. It's really fascinating. I guarantee you learn something you didn't already know. It's on Amazon. It's linked up. I cover a whole, money is really corrupting our system right now, and science and tolerance are our only hope. Goodbye. Thank you. ZulloScope. Follow me at ZulloScope, and I appreciate your time again.